Good evening, Mr. Bertrand. Good evening.
How you doing?
I'm out of breath running up the stairs to this computer that my wife was nice enough to set up for me. Literally, I got in a minute ago. So I'm hangry, ready to go.
Sounds right.
Good evening.
Wayne, how you doing?
My name, right? Good.
Lynn, I did not print out the 187 pages from tonight's packet.
Lynn, the 187 pages made my computer go kaboom.
Oh, sorry.
What are
We've got to cut that. I can't.
Joe's computer, like himself, is old.
It's
Well, I tried to
very old.
put the
Bill
tabs
Lindsay's
in there so
computer
you
had
can
no
just click
problem
it.
with it.
No, my brain, I don't think we need the full backup to these applications for payment. We don't need the G703s, I think. If you,
I think we could,
Okay, I'll just do the cover sheets for
Yes.
both the,
Whatever I need to sign.
yeah, the schedule of values, I don't think are useful, but like any backup could be kept, but I think you could probably cut down 80% of that without the schedule of values.
okay,
And
that would make my life easier too.
yeah,
Good,
yeah, I
good.
think so.
The computer I have is literally a hand-me-down from Ben.
When she knew she needed to get a new one.
That's right. I mean, it's so, we buy him a new one and I get this then, that's how it works.
All good. All good. Crazy.
Hey,
Hello,
Jason,
everybody.
how you doing, buddy?
Jason.
Good. How's everybody doing?
Good, good.
Excellent.
Still out in San Francisco.
I gotta move. I don't want to be in San Fran. I feel like winter is coming on.
Oh my God, it happened so fast.
Right.
What happened to fall?
Skip fall. It's funny though, it's that little halo that's so precious around your head, Jason.
Yeah, I know, huh? I love those virtual backgrounds.
How much traveling do you have coming up?
Not much, which is good. Not much. Things have calmed down.
Does that mean business is good or business is bad?
Business is fine.
Yeah.
This is fine. Yeah, I'm actually working on some of my own stuff, so I'll fill you guys in at a later date on that.
Okay.
Good.
Starting my own business. So
Oh, good for
Oh,
you.
great.
Sure, it's in a field I can do nothing to help you with it. Or even get you business.
well, you never know. You never know.
know. Yeah.
Talk about that, Chip. There might be areas you don't even know you could get me business in that you might be able to.
All right. Well, just let me know. You'll have to fill us in once it's official, or you
Sounds
can
good.
talk
Yeah,
about it.
probably around January it'll be official.
Okay. Good. You'll become Philip Renzi #2.
That ain't so bad.
Ask Phil.
Sorry,
You want
Sorry,
us to
Jay.
comment on that, Jason, or not?
I already did.
give Jay a break.
All right, we have a quorum. So why don't, Lynn, I sent you the co-host thing. You want to start the meeting off with the agenda, et cetera?
Hang on.
Great, thank you.
Can you see the
Yep,
We can.
invitation? Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. First up on the agenda, we have administrative actions, and then after that, I'm going to turn it over to Bond to give a construction update. So first, under administrative actions is the review of the August 11th PBC meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the August 11th meeting minutes as written.
I will second.
Any discussion? Any comments, anything? Does anyone object to approving the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved.
Joe, do we have a quorum?
Yes,
We do.
you, Phil, Jason, John, and Tom.
Okay, I didn't see John and Tom, sorry.
Yep, it's all right. And Mark
Perfect.
said that he was gonna be on early, but he had to leave at 8, so I don't know. I haven't seen Mark yet.
Okay,
I was looking for him.
perfect.
Okay,
Next on the agenda is the review of the August 2022 invoices.
Yeah, I'll jump right in. I move that we approve the left field invoice number 22 for the sum of $18,500.
I will second.
any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Phil,
Yes.
Jason,
Yep.
John.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
invoice is approved.
I move that we approve bid docs online. Invoice number 215292-2 dated 5/31 for the sum of $415.80.
I second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Phil,
Yes.
Jason,
Yep.
John.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
thank you.
I
Minutes
move that we
approved.
approve HKT Architects invoice number 20-022023 dated 9/2 for the sum of $18,396.11.
I will second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Phil,
Yes.
Jason,
Yep.
John.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
approved.
I move that we approve bond building invoice number 8 dated 8/31/22 for the sum of $592,719.99.
They couldn't round that up.
I
Huh?
know, right? It just feels so much cheaper this way.
It really does. It got, what a bargain.
That's
Hey,
right.
you want to save every penny, Joe. I'm trying to
Yeah,
give you every
yeah.
penny.
Okay, Jay.
Bond is the marshals of GCs.
I will
That's
second.
not a compliment, by the way.
No, I know, right?
I'll retract that.
I'll second that.
Jason
charge.
seconded.
Yep.
Any comments besides the ones already made? Chip,
Yes,
Phil,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
I move that we approve Briggs Engineering invoice 0221-903 dated 8/27 for the sum of $2,369.50.
I will second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Phil,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
motion allowed.
before I have or I'll make the motion and then actually, it's not even about this invoice, so I have a question of what is the remaining $48,000 to be used for in this line item?
The 48,245.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious as to what else that seems like a lot of money left in this line item that we've only pulled from a couple times.
We don't have any commitments against that currently. That's just a miscellaneous project cost such as this one that was used for sprinkler shutdowns for a handful of days. They had to shut the sprinkler systems down so that mine could do their work.
Okay, no, okay, great.
But currently, I don't have any other commitments against that budget.
That's wonderful to know. That was my curiosity. I move that we approve K Security Systems invoice number 16861 dated 8/29 for the sum of $1,755.
And I will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
Jason,
Yes,
John,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
I move that we approve TCS Communications invoice 000462217 dated 8/24 for $101,535.14.
and I will second that.
Any discussion?
Lynn, is this the sum we expected it would be for
Yeah, that's what I was
dispatch
gonna ask.
furniture?
Yes, it's the exact amount, and on the next page, I'm gonna show you, we did pay, $1,285 for storage, because we weren't ready to
Yeah,
receive.
I
the-
remember approving that or
dispatch.
talking
Yeah.
about approving that.
Yeah, so I'll show you that move, on the next page.
So Lynn, this was for dispatch?
Dispatch
Dispatch
furniture.
furniture.
Okay,
And that's gonna be our single greatest outlay for FF&E, right? Or does the rest of the furniture come to more than that?
It's.
We're still on budget, I get
200
that question.
Correct. We have 208,800 approximately left to pay for, coming from environments office environments or.
But that's not gonna chew up all of that, correct?
Correct, and you'll see on the next page what we have left over.
Okay, sorry.
all right, thanks, Lynn.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
Jason,
Yep,
John,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Motion loud.
Well, not the next page, but the next one.
All right, well, we're gonna hold you to that, Lynn. I don't know.
Okay, here we have bonds, construction change order number 7 for a total of $5,156. And we're looking for approval of this.
so I was trying to figure out. Unfortunately, the whole PCOs and CCDs 2, CCD 3, PCOs that go, all the electrical stuff had become extremely confusing to me. What is this for?
I can walk you through that, Joe, pretty quickly, I think. Chip, sorry. So 33, that was discussed previously. That was the electrical ad to change a breaker to allow us to reuse an existing VFD.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, yeah,
Yep, so that was previously vetted, so that's just now coming through on the official change order
okay.
process. The
All right.
next three, actually, the next one we talked about too, that's just a small 500, it's a contingency draw, it's only a $500 item for the extra fridge, the under counter fridge that went above the hold we had for appliances. I think Dario talked about that before he left.
Yep.
That's like $500.
Yeah.
The next two are related, and they're related to the first one, PCO 33. These were I guess I would call them disputed VFD purchases. So those were items that NB Kenny did not carry, and we decided to mitigate the dispute by applying this to a hold. And then that hold ran out by $100 and something, and then we put the rest of it to contingency. That's what 46A is. And the total for that's coming off our hold is just about 32,000.
So which hold was this, Dave?
That was the balance of the concrete patching hold.
Okay, so that's done
Okay.
now.
Yeah, and we've already executed the actual cost that we got a quote for patching that concrete. So we've already got that locked down. So there's no exposure to not
Okay.
having enough to deal with that.
Okay, but now, so every time I say, just use the garage money, they're no longer garage.
One, yep, this drew it down.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve SOV-007. For the construction change order for the sum of $5,156.
Okay, I'll second.
Any discussion, further discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes,
Jason,
Yep,
John.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
thank you. Approved.
So I'll try to run you through. I know this is hard to see the budget, but you should see it in your packet. Some of the moves that I needed to make in order to fund the invoices this month was moving $1,285 out of owner's contingency to cover the storage cost for the dispatch furniture. And I also moved the $5,156 from construction contingency to fund change order 7. So once I made those moves and applied the invoices to the budget, we have 95% of the budget committed with a budget expended of 40%. We have the remaining contingencies are 259,856 in construction, 97,844 in owner's contingency. And I pulled this from Bond's cost report. They have $285,154 left in GMP contingencies. I do know they have some risk pending risk applied to that, but currently that's where the GMP contingency stands.
and Lynn, do we have any point later in the agenda to talk about what happened with the page turn and where all those dollars stand and when we're going to see those numbers? Or can I ask that question now?
You can ask that question now.
Okay, so Dave, my question comes, and again, excuse me if I don't use the right terms right. I don't think we've seen a number yet for CCD3 or what was created from the page turn a couple weeks ago. Where do we stand with, that seems to me like it's going to be a fairly big number. Where do we stand with that? And are there any other big numbers that we should understand?
Yep, I think actually in the packet is our, and John can help just go through this. There's our PCO log that has potential estimated, and some of these are just wild guesses based on not having any input yet. But the exposure should be available at all times. So we've got, anytime something comes up, whether it's an RFI response, a CCD, a proposal request, we'll log it in as a PCO and track it so that we always have a snapshot of what potentially is coming down the road. And obviously those numbers sometimes flex a lot depending on, you know, what we see and what we can guess at the time we receive it. But we try to keep that going, and that's in our PCO log that was in the packet that Lynn sent out. So if you want, we can pull that up and go through it, but that information's there. I think that was broken down, John, and correct me if I'm wrong, to 2 PCOs, one for work that is part of the current phase that we have to expedite on a, I believe, on a T&M basis. And then the balance of the work for future phases that isn't as time critical, we're obtaining pricing from now.
That's correct. We have a CCD issued for the stuff in phase 1, and some of that work is happening as we speak, though the pricing isn't in yet. And like Dave said, we have a PR, a proposal request that's going to be issued tomorrow for the balance of the scope from that 2 Wednesday nights ago.
So let me ask a question. If we did that,
Before you do,
yeah.
for the benefit of the other members of the committee, you want to explain what the page turn was? I don't.
Oh, okay, I'd be happy to. Yeah, we got together, the working group, Bond, the police department, and did a page turn because we were really getting frustrated with all these little, we need this, we need that requests. And so it was a non-confrontational page turn just to go room by room door by door. It really got predicated being necessary by the outlet layout versus the furniture layout, that it just wasn't matching up. And every day there was a new discussion, a new issue, a new problem. So we sat down for, I think it was 3.5 hours, and went through with the graciousness of the police department, Bond, HKT, and ourselves, and went page by page, room by room. And we broke it up into two things. One was work happening now, like the front lobby dispatch, stuff that had to get done because we were on a deadline and push for getting seats in the chairs. And then the other was to ask a request. The request for proposal came up on the other phases, so that we would have an idea what the costs were coming down the line for things that had to happen. My concern is that there were a lot of issues. So I'm kind of curious as to where, and we didn't talk about what it was going to cost. So what I think they're going to show us now is what Bond's guess is that we've encompassed. So I'm nervous about what that number is. So I'm curious to see what Bond thinks it's going to be.
So Chip, as Adam just mentioned, we only have the first half of that to this point. We're still waiting on, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're still waiting on the PR for the balance of that for the next phases.
So you
That's
guys
correct.
haven't even put a guess to it?
Not until we see it.
Well, then it's not a guess.
I mean, I just,
Okay,
there was a lot of things discussed.
I know there were. That's my concern, Dave, is that okay, so what do you have for, what are we calling are we calling it a CCD, or are we calling it?
Then
What are we
this-
calling the first phase?
It's CCD 5, I believe it is. I think, Lynn, this is like 174 in the packet, page 174, something like
I
that.
might have given up by then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we threw an estimate guess at CCD 5. I'm not sure we threw anything at.
You want me to put it up on the screen? I have to
Yes,
stop
please, Lynn. Could
stop
you
the
do that?
presentation. Hold on.
While she's doing that, I want to commend Chip and Phil for sitting as members of the committee, for sitting down there for 3.5 hours, and the members of the police department and for HKT to go through that for that 3.5 hours. I made it for the one half of the 3.5 hours.
We could even audit that.
Yeah. Yeah, that might have been exaggerated.
5 minutes of 3.
No, it was more than 5. I didn't say how much.
Okay.
And Adam was there through the whole thing as well. I don't want to leave Adam out of it. Left field was there.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry.
Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Couple pages further. Right.
There
So-
it is. One back, Lynn.
Yeah. So those in the middle that are PCOs with estimated values, that's the stuff that we see coming up as right now. So we've got down the bottom, PCO 53 was open for CCD 5. We threw an estimated value at 15,000 for that. That's best we know at the moment. And then once we get our arms around it, when we see it, we'll adjust.
Okay, so what are these all ones that are coming down the pike that we've talked about, all of them?
Yes,
Or-
these are all estimated values for things that have come up on the job that have not been yet submitted for approval.
So this is the one I'm thinking of, CCD 003, electrical updates,
Yep,
30,000.
yep.
Okay.
So what is that CCD? And when is that going to be real or not real?
We were going to break this one up into a couple components. There was frame modifications for card readers, added automatic operators for vestibule doors, and then series of electrical changes as well too.
But you're going forward with those, right?
Correct, yes.
Because that's all,
All CCD was approved to go ahead, just trying to collect costs and get it finalized and submitted.
There was a lot to that one.
no, I know that's what, so you think does CCD 5 have anything that was also in, my concern is that we're double dipping here somewhere, and I know you'll figure that out.
Yeah, I don't think so.
The page turn might have, because there were a lot of that was included, that wasn't included, that was thought about, that wasn't thought about. When we're, so I just want to make sure that whatever's in CCD 5 wasn't captured in CCD 3.
There were distinct electrical changes in each chip, and I just looking
No,
at.
I know, that's why I want to just make sure that we're not doubled anywhere.
Right.
And then the other one that I saw just recently that I don't see on here was a mechanical one for $7,000.
Yeah, so that'd be the second item down in the submitted category.
Okay, that's that revision to electrical mechanical schedule.
Correct.
Shot Peter.
Yeah, can somebody explain that one to us?
I believe that's just missing chemical shot feeder at the mechanical equipment, correct, John?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
And what wasn't spec'd?
Correct.
So is this HKT's engineer didn't spec it correctly?
I'll let your owner's project manager speak to that. That's it's submitted as an owner's change, so we don't believe it's in the documents.
That's correct.
Okay, so my question, and you guys can discuss this offline and get back to us. At what point do we start asking HKT to start putting some skin into the game, as I'll call it, for all these misses? There seems to be an extraordinary amount of misses, and I don't know, it's just really getting frustrating that the dollars are adding up a lot for just missed things. The other one is CCD 002. Did we approve this 52,000 already?
We're waiting for approval. It's submitted, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
This was a revised one that took out one of the shutdowns and updates from Griffin.
We're waiting for GGD, our electrical engineers, to review it and give their opinion on it being appropriate.
So I'm gonna just do some really quick math. And excuse me if I'm wrong, but I've got 52,000 and 45,000, all of electrical changes, which come to 97,000. Let's call it $100,000 that are coming out of owner's contingency, correct?
That's
The
correct.
owner's
The answer is yes, in
Yep.
round terms. Okay, that seems to be a really high percentage to me, so I just want to make sure that, you know, just, I don't know, it seems like a lot, but hopefully we've captured most of them. You know, I'm looking, you know, I'm just trying to get a feel like, do we have enough money to pay for this job? And I'm a little concerned. We have another one down here for 55,000. PCO.
That's approved.
That, okay, again, on my screen, it's so small.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's done.
And this is the, just so you can understand, Chip, just for everybody's, this log is owner reimbursable. So as you can see in the top left, we have separate logs for our contingency draws and holds and allowances. So this version of the log is what we consider is on your side of the ledger. And that's submitted as the first is the first section. What's coming down estimated is the middle, and what you've previously approved is the bottom, and all our logs look like that. And so if Lynn kept flipping through, you'd see our contingency side is the same, set up the same way, just so we can all understand how these will read.
So if I'm right, if somebody can, we've got, is it 110,000 out there?
That's been approved previously.
Okay, so how much do we have out there that I know the number will change, but that's potential at this point?
It's 129,000.
So let me say 78,430 has been approved to date. And we
And
had,
that's already shown where you just showed us what we have left in contingency.
yeah,
That's gone.
and that's included in what we have left in our contingency. 31,777 is pending. Yes, the 78,430 has been removed out of our contingency.
Okay, and so we just have 31,000 pending,
That's pending, and then you have exposure of
60,
60,400.
so 100.
Yes,
And that, Lynn, that comes out of the 239?
yes, it does.
Okay,
So my point is, guys, and I know, Dave, you're equally as frustrated with how many hits you guys have taken. Some of which you believe are okay, some of which you obviously from your working under protest on one of them feels is not okay. I don't know, it just, does anybody have a statement as to whether this is an abnormal amount of changes for a job this size?
I guess hearing none.
Currently, as a
That means
total,
everybody's scared to make a statement.
all right, here it goes. Currently, as a total against the total project, not yet by standards of errors and omissions, but we are off to a very fast start. It's got to slow down.
It's got to do more than slow down, it has to stop.
Gonna run out of money if it doesn't stop.
That's very true.
That's why I think it's, so I guess this PCO log is something to look at. I know they come in every day and I'm like, 2,000, okay, fine, tint the windows. 1,500, okay, fine, do that. I think this is an extremely important log to have on every future meeting as we go forward. So we understand where we're at down the road. And should we be tougher? And again, it comes back to, when do we ask HKT to put some skin in the game? Because it seems like the town of Wakefield and Bond are taking all the hits for all these. And let me tell you, there's some changes that are legit, but 90% of these changes are misses on the drawings. Or not spec'd or something. So,
Okay.
or not vetted through the police department properly, or all of that. So,
Matter of fact, Chip, I think you and I have to talk about that regarding what action to occur, okay?
yeah, maybe with Lynn offline.
All right,
I just, to Chip, to your point, like, I wonder, I don't know, my participants, like, is Janet on, like, what does HKT think about this trend and what's going in the comments, like, in this type of project? I would assume they would have an opinion on your question about if this is typical of this type of project and what they're seeing could be happening, why this is happening. I'd love to hear from them.
I'd have to look at it in great detail, and I'd like to talk to Adam and Lynn tomorrow about these numbers, just determine which were part of what and why, and then I can actually give you more comment, Phil, about it. 1 to 5% is typical on a project of any size. This is a particularly challenging project because of the existing conditions, but we have to take a look at it all.
all right.
Yeah, I wish you would. Again, HKT is at
We will.
every weekly meeting, so this isn't news to HKT. We've been
No, it's not.
talking about a lot of these for every week for months, so
Yep.
it would be great to get some sort of review and response, because we have a lot more to this project. I'm really concerned we're gonna run out of money
Yep,
if this keeps up.
Absolutely, we'll do that with Lynn and Adam, and
Okay, thank you, Janet.
Leaving him alone, so I make sure he's had some soup, took his.
I'm gonna go back to the original
Yeah,
presentation.
And I'll promise to let you keep going as you
He's good
see
enough.
fit now.
Well, no, he knows he takes those three.
Where's that noise coming from? Is that your?
It's I think it's Wayne's mic, if someone can mute him.
Talk to the nurse about all the constipation drugs. I'm like, Jesus, this is like a lot.
Either Lynn or Joe, can you mute Wayne?
I
There you
just,
go.
Did
Awesome.
you?
yeah,
Okay.
Sorry, Wayne.
I know, sorry. Okay, so that's where we stand. I do want to
Right.
say that of the money uncommitted to date, we do have 679,000 uncommitted, so there may be some opportunity for money in other budget lines that don't get used, so we can talk about that as we move forward as well.
Well, that was my point on the, the 48 that I saw sticking over in that corner.
Right, we have a couple of
But
buckets.
they
left
should stay
back.
right there
Right,
until we need them.
until we don't have a choice.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right.
And just quickly want to review, we'll wait until we get to the high school project to decide whether or not we'll have a September 22nd PBC meeting, but our next public safety building is scheduled for October 6th, unless something comes up and we need to have the 22nd added to the public safety buildings calendar. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bond to talk a little bit about where we are with phasing plan and schedule, and then into their look ahead and photos of construction progress.
So just at the high level, I'll hit some highlights, and then if there's any questions, we can dive into detail with the look ahead.
You need,
Overall,
do you need to be a co-host here?
nope, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm just gonna talk in general to schedule, and we can pull up the photos as I finish up and let John kind of walk through where things are in visual form, so it'll give you a sense of where we are. So,
all right.
Dave, is this also John's first meeting?
It is, yes.
no, it is.
Full
I
committee.
apologize.
I'm doing a quick reason why he's here, and
I
I think we've talked about it so much, I don't think the full committee knows.
That's true. Okay, so we've brought in John Rossini. He's a very highly qualified project manager from Bond, who he and I finished a job recently with Dario, who you recall was our previous PM. Dario has decided to leave the construction management profession, at least on a semi-permanent basis. We're hoping that it changes his mind at some point, but Dario has moved on, and we're very happy to have freed up John to be able to come in and work on this. So John and Dario and I all worked together for a few years previous to this job. So we all do things the same way, and it should be a pretty easy transition. And we're making sure John gets up to speed quick, and it'll be seamless, and he will be more than effective at running this job.
And then Dave, if you would give a quick update on what you're doing at the super level.
Superintendent wise, myself and Mike Donahue, are head of superintendents, I guess is the best way to put his title right now, have been very deeply engaged in the job recently over the past month or so, with all of the things that we've all been talking about. Just keeping up with the current phase and looking ahead to future phases have been extremely challenging with all of the things that have been kind of unforeseen and coming down the road. So we've added myself and Donahue, really engaged in spending more time than we originally had planned. And then recently we also added, on top of our full-time superintendent, Mike McNally, we've added a second super that will keep on the job for probably about a month to help push the current work along, but also look forward to the future phases where we're hoping to make up some ground that was lost for many reasons on these first couple of phases, so that we can hopefully pick up some momentum and make up lost time before we get to the end. So we're hoping that little shot in the arm at the superintendent level for a month will keep us on track and be able to, again, keep Mike McNally focused on all these late breaking things at the current phase, because that, you'll hear from me in a minute, that's super critical path. But we don't want to focus so hard on that we lose momentum on the future phases that we're trying to keep up the momentum on. So that's our current plan, and we'll keep evaluating where we are as we go.
Thanks, Dave.
So overall, as I was just mentioning, the critical path for the overall schedule runs through dispatch. And the reason why is that when dispatch moves down into their new space, it frees up the next phase of renovations. So that right now, unfortunately, we took a big hit early on, as you'll recall, with those structural slabs that were unforeseen. So we were tracking about 6 weeks behind our original schedule on that. And as of right now, we're still shooting for roughly a mid-September. So I'd call it a soft occupancy down there so we can get dispatch down. There's those recent electrical changes and some of the finished stuff that we're trying to work through. It's been a little bit of a challenge. We're gonna have to have a meeting with the police department, hopefully in the next couple of days, to determine if some of that late breaking work we can do off hours or something while they're in there. So we need to get that resolved quickly, so that we don't lose more time getting the next phase opened up. So that's ongoing. So the big picture is we're still trying to get the lobby opened. I'm sorry, the dispatch group down mid-September-ish, and then the more public opening of the lobby and the rest of the space out front still tracking roughly mid to late October, pending on again a couple of electrical changes at the hardware and that kind of thing. So we're just tracking some of these late breaking things. It's really difficult to pin down material delivery status and submittal approval for. So we're doing everything we possibly can, and the entire team's working hard to try to mitigate anything that's happened late to get it done when it needs to be done as quick as possible for the earliest phases so that we don't lose more time. So big picture, we're still trying to get dispatch down mid-September.
So Dave, so mid-September is next week. So you mean next week?
I'm saying by the third week. Sorry, I'm looking at the calendar. There's
So the week of the 19th.
Yeah, it looks like, I think Adam's bringing furniture in that week. We'll hopefully get some rooms furnished. We'll probably have to move some furniture around a couple times with some of this change order work that's happening, but we'll get it done. The big issue really is working with the police department to let them tell us whether or not they're comfortable moving into dispatch with some of the change order work that's going to happen. And once we have that understanding, we can decide if we're going to get them down that week or if we're going to have to punt. And right now, we're not really comfortable saying one way or another whether that's possible. But that truly is critical path to the overall schedule. So we're hopeful we can figure out a way to make that work.
And do you have a meeting with the police department scheduled yet?
I thought Adam was trying to get that scheduled today. I don't think he was successful.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I just need a minute to talk to Scott and Craig about what we can and can't do when dispatch is live.
So Adam, do we have to pay for additional storage if we don't make next week or the 19th?
I think we can get it in one.
Yeah, I'll talk about that specifically. We do have our first phase of furniture coming on the 19th. That is going to happen no matter what. We are not able to take all of the furniture at once, so we will have to have some storage costs associated with that. And I'm negotiating that now with the furniture vendor. I'll just also add to Dave's update that we started I
got more to go.
Okay. Well, give me 2 minutes. I'm going to interject.
You're stealing my thunder, Adam.
All right. So we've started dispatch technology installation on the newly installed dispatch furniture, and we'll be doing that through the 19th, through all of next week. And so far, so good with that. Back to you, Dave.
No problem. So on some little bit better news, the 3-story addition is progressing very well. We poured slabs this week, so we're moving that along. We're holding to our most recent schedule update there, so that's good news. That was impacted from the original schedule a little bit with that bump out stuff we did, but right now we're maintaining our current schedule there. And then the Sallyport addition is actually ahead of schedule by about a week, so that's good news. We're able to keep that going, and the boiler room work is also underway. And that's another critical path item. We need to make sure that is outfitted and live for producing heat by October 15th. So right now we're tracking well to do that. So that's really big picture, high level. There's a lot of detail obviously involved in a lot of this, but right now critical path runs through dispatch.
All right, Lynn.
John, you want to talk through?
Yep.
Sure, talk through pictures.
Jonathan, go ahead.
Yep, so on the left-hand side, progress of the addition, actually this whole page Just seeing slabs placed. These were done on Wednesday. They did their cutting in the slab on grade today. Keep moving along. We actually laid out lines today as well too, so we can get going interior and exterior framing. Roof blocking was lifted up and installed in place as well too. Progress in dispatch, just what Adam said on the right-hand side. Furniture and equipment going in, and then actually we're going to be beginning to clear out temporary protection on the left-hand side to get these spaces cleaned and finished.
I'll just add, we're working really closely with Todd Bowden from Town IT, who's doing a lot of self-perform work and really deserves some credit. But in that dispatch photo, he's hung a lot of monitors for us. He's done a lot of low voltage work for us and has helped the project tremendously, trying to keep costs down.
And guys, that's great. Who's thinking about how and when to punch these projects so that we don't start having a lot of debates later, like, oh, that happened when furniture moved in, or, you know, I know these phases are really tough to determine but we should set a date or set a time to do a walkthrough and a punch list. And I know you're punching it every day, but kind of a final. So as you're thinking about schedule, also think about that, if you would.
Yeah, we definitely have that thought through, although that, like, again, there's those late breaking changes. We're going to be able to be in a position that we normally would be able to punch and clean, but there might be some comeback work that we'll have to decide whether or not we hold the punch or come back and punch again. Just, we're working through that stuff. It's been a bit of a challenge.
No, I get it, but I'd just like to know how we're handling it.
Yeah.
I'll just add some color here, right? To the left, the lobby, you see the paneling is in good shape. We have protection on the floor, but the floor is fully quarry tiled. So the area is pretty close, but there's just a fair amount of loose details, and we want to really have it nice before we get it to the public.
Okay,
Left-hand side, we're in the boiler room here. So all previous boilers, pumps were removed, placed new pads, and then new equipment's actually coming on Monday to be rigged and loaded in. And then on the right-hand side, Sallyport progress, Dorenzo Stegler contractors up there digging for grade beams, and we'll start tying bar on Monday. Get those foundations placed, and then have roof steel coming for end of the month.
That's all we have for photos.
okay.
Great.
Any questions?
Yeah, Lynn, is that it for the public safety?
That's it, unless there's any questions.
Are there any questions? Before we go on Chief Scory?
No questions. And,
Okay.
thank you to Chip for sitting through that 3.5 hour page turner.
You
Well, I
did
was there for
good.
5 minutes, Steve. What the heck?
I know where you were, Joe. I could see the lake in the background, so I don't blame you for leaving.
Deputy Chief Calabrese?
All set, thank you.
All right. Chief Sullivan?
I'm all set, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. Anybody else in the public safety? Thank you very much, everybody. We'll keep this going.
Thank you.
All right, Lynn?
Can you see
Yep.
the high school
Yep.
project?
Yep,
Okay, hang
Yeah.
on 1 second.
add her up.
So for the high school project, we'll go through the administrative actions, then I'll turn it over to SMA to go through where we are in schematic design. They're going to be making some recommendations and asking for some approvals by PBC, and then we'll wrap it up by a quick schedule update. First on the agenda is a review of the August 25th PBC meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the August 25th meeting minutes as written.
I will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Are there any objections to approving the meeting minutes of August 25th, 2022? Hearing none, the minutes are approved.
Next is approval of the invoices, and I apologize to SMMA, but I waited as long as I could. I thought I saw maybe at 4:30 an email come in from your accountant, but obviously this was already sent out, so we only have one invoice for this month.
I move that we approve invoice number 16 from Wakefield dated 8/31 for the sum of 22,000.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jason,
yes.
John,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
approved.
Next is the status of the budget. We have 87% committed. We've expended 59% and we have 13.4% uncommitted, or $268,472. Any questions on the budget before we move on?
Okay, hearing none. Thanks, Lynn.
Okay, and I'll turn it over to SMA for them to share their presentation.
Joe, if you could allow me to share, thank you.
All right. Excuse me. Oh, come on now. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
I just want to say I have to leave at 8, so
yeah.
if I
Thanks, Mark.
disappear, that's why.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for being.
Okay, I'm having an issue here. I may need backup.
What's up?
Sorry, Helen, can you, be able to share the PowerPoint?
I can certainly try and hope I have better luck than you. So I guess, do you turn it over to me then?
I made your co-host.
Okay. Okay, how's that?
It's
Good.
up.
We got it.
Okay. We're all off here. Okay, great. Well, good evening, everyone. So you have myself, Brian, and Megan with you this evening, and we are roaring towards our deadline tomorrow to provide our estimating package to our 3 estimators, PM&C, AM Fogarty, and Bond. So I was going to say, go ahead, Brian. I guess I'm flipping the slides. So here is our agenda. We realize the hour is late. We will try to stay as high level as possible for you, and obviously allow you some time to ask questions. Megan, will you give us a bit of an update on the site?
Yeah, so if you want to go to the next slide. We have been working very hard to work on getting everything onto the site that we had envisioned. We did want to give you a minor update on the expanded program for the track. We have accommodated a 6-lane track with 8 sprinting lanes. And we have designed in, Helen, if you go to the next slide, you can see that we've put in where the yellow lines are. There's now built-in block seating for about 330 people, which is an expanded program of the existing track, which is about seating for 100. But as you can see, it very nicely works with the landscape. It's built into the transition between the field and the plaza space between the school and the field. And so we've really been able to integrate it nicely. But we just wanted to let you know that those were the 2 items above and beyond the existing program that were added to the scope. They will be costed separately, so we will know what the difference is once we get to the costing phase. And then that way we can have additional discussions about whether to include it or not. But we were able to get it onto the site with really minimally reactive changes to the site. And we're just pushing along with the site development, really just trying to get our spaces developed. Helen, if you want to go to the next slide. This is just a really quick overview of our 3D model that we've been using to really develop the spaces, really push and understand where the school elevation is going to be, where the field elevations are, and sort of what those spaces, those social spaces in the back and the front are going to feel like. So we're keeping going, and these are our very quick images to show you that we are still pushing. And I will hand it over to Brian now to update.
If I could, Megan.
Oh, sorry, Joe. Did you have some questions? I'm sorry.
Is it one level, the seating?
It's actually, so Helen, if you can go back one slide. There's one level that is right up against the sidewalk. And then there's a second level just in that center space.
Okay.
And so it'll be like a 6-inch difference from one to the next.
And we don't have the view from Farm Street to see what that would look like, right?
It's really minimal. I'm not sure if Brian has any images from Farm Street for this. You do have them, Brian?
There's one in the deck. That sort of bench system is just the smallest line at the base of the building.
Yeah, it's just very minimal because it's just like an 18-inch seat wall that rises out of the landscape. So it's very unobstructive and unobtrusive. It works well with the landscape. So we can point it out when we get there.
Is it comfortable?
Yeah, it's just we haven't made final conclusions on what the materials will be, and we all will discuss that further on in the process. But it's just a seat. You can
There's no backing, right? It's just it's like a bench.
Correct. It's just a bench. And so, parents can make a choice to bring their stadium seat that has a back, or that has a cushion that they would come and normally sit on bleachers, or even on the ground. I've seen people use those little seat backs on the ground. So I think it's a really nice landscape feature that gives flexibility to the use. Sorry, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just that other photo. It looked like it's a chair,
Well, you could, it's 2 levels, so you could put your back against the top level.
Can you do the next?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, those look like chairs. That's what I thought they were.
Oh no, it's just a block seat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, and maybe you're seeing.
It's just hard to see.
Yeah.
We'll get you some better graphics for the next big dive into the site. We just wanted to give you a quick update on what was happening since the last time we talked to you guys. We talked about field program.
And these, this will be setting the parameters for estimating, correct? What we see here tonight.
Yes, this is what's included in the estimate set. Yeah.
Any other questions on site? moving on to programming and building. Brian.
Thanks. I think that the recurring theme tonight is we want to review the assumptions that we're making as we submit documents tomorrow for the cost estimating. As Helen mentioned, we've been really busy over the last several weeks. And that means that that school leadership and staff have been busy as well. And I just want to give a shout out and thank Principal McLeod and Superintendent Lyons for making sure that we have the resources and get the answers that we've needed to try to gain a little bit more focus on some of these bigger areas, the spaces with a lot of small rooms, the spaces with big space and maybe some special equipment that we've been able to tackle those recently, including health, wellness, and athletics, including music and theater on the sort of right-hand half of the plan, as well as talking through a lot of details of the district office. We've talked about educational technology. And so we feel that the plans are really in a good place here. And Helen, just a quick alert, if this is actually a little bit older version than I had put in, and it might mean that some other of the pieces are not quite there in the version that you've opened. So I've saved the most recent if you want to reopen it.
Okay.
I hope it's not too disruptive. But as I said, we met with Doug and his team on the district office space. We are, at a point of, starting to talk about some really fine level details at this point. So it means that in the schematic design, phase where we are, I think we're in very good shape. We can advance to level 2, where really not much has changed. There is the sort of tweak of the academic wing that we talked about before. It has taken on even, I think, more refinement. We're excited about this move and what it affords the building in the more civic realm at the front of the school. And we have some images out front there to help look at that. Level 3, again, is, more of kind of the stacking that you've seen before. So from here, I wanted to push into a discussion of the WCAT space. And if we go to the next slide, we've done a quick evaluation of what WCAT has now in terms of space within the existing high school. So this is a plan representing what we found as we went in a couple of weeks ago. We had a look around, we took some pictures. We got a lot of good help from Ryan and Ian at WCAT, and we've collaborated with them. We've showed them plans, we've gotten feedback, and so we've worked through some things. We've realized that the programmed space within the overall space that they've got is somewhere around 3,000 square feet. So for that number, we're taking out things like, the hallways, the toilet rooms, et cetera. It's really so we can compare apples to apples, the usable space, which is mainly offices, studios, and storage, to what we were asked to provide, which was roughly the equivalent of the green area on the left of the screen. That quantity is roughly 1,300 to 1,400 square feet. As we go to the next slide, we see the current layout, which is, I think, quite efficient. We've added roughly 1,500 square feet of programmed space. We've provided within that a larger studio space. We've provided a second small studio for podcasting, which was requested. It was part of a modification, a little bit of the space needs that were identified as we talked it through. There is one office that we've added which is allows sort of sound sensitive work to be done individually in 3 of the offices. We've also consolidated the storage here. So the net result here is, and we'll see in the final slide when we go back and show you everything that we're pulling out to be line item costed, the entire WCAT space will be one of those line items. We're including 4,547 net square feet of space. And we find that we can actually reduce the overall gross square footage of what we had previously assumed by having refined the plan a bit more. So I think that is somewhat good news. We've reviewed this plan with WCAT and they are happy with it. So what we're looking for is the committee to provide direction to include this piece in the plans that we submit for pricing.
Yeah, we'll do that, Brian, when we look at all the extra spaces.
So on to the exterior, we had a very, very active day last Wednesday, which included an exterior and interior design focus group meeting. If you recall the last building committee meeting, we had shown something very rough, and I think there's a desire out there to really see the latest advancements. So I'll summarize here. So we're looking at a bird's eye view from over Farm Street, looking back across the new Beasley Oval toward the new high school. And just showing basically how it will mass up from the ground and where it will sit relative to the adjacent amenities and the site buffer in the back. I think what we've depicted is maybe more generous than what we actually have, but it gives you a sense of the space that will be viewed in front of the school and the presence that the school itself will have. Next slide, please. We talked again about the desire to connect the new school to the architecture of Wakefield, in which there is a persistence of red brick and natural stone masonry. And there's been robust discussion. We believe we're hearing more leaning toward a red brick type expression. But there are also these sort of contrasting sills, lintels, string courses that happen in some of the traditional architecture that might find a place in the new school. Next slide, please. And of course, across the district, it's almost all red brick. And when I say red, that's sort of a range of red, orange, sort of variation. But the Galvin is one that recently incorporated a little bit of both languages. And so I think we can learn something from that as well. Next slide. We need to be extremely cost conscious on this project. This graph is basically showing the relative cost of brick at the lowest end to everything else. So everything that is based in sort of resins and aluminum and generally metals have really increased in cost dramatically over the last 6 months to a year. And brick was hanging there at the bottom for a while, but we're seeing it really elevate now as well. So that's something to look out for. And so for us, that means we're going to need to be creative with a very economical material to create excitement and differentiation of the surface using a fairly modest material. And we're not really fazed by that. We've done lots of brick schools. It's a beautiful material, and there are different expressions that are that are possible with it. But we just want to just highlight that cost is really going to drive the exterior calculations. Next slide, please. And here's a breakdown of basically how the opaque walls in orange are mainly brick masonry. There will be, as we discussed in the focus group, a stone base and stone windowsills. There may be some rain screen feature walls, but it's likely to be more, as we show, accents of finished metal. And so those together roughly approximate 75% of the total wall surface. And then the next two items in blue, windows and curtain wall, we're targeting 25% of the envelope to be triple glazed units, which are a bit heavier. They're much more robust in terms of the thermal performance, and we need these to achieve our zero net energy ready goals for the project. Most of the other materials on the project are going to be metal trims, roof screens of pre-finished metal, likely perforated, and we'll use PVC for the roofing membrane because we can get a very light color, which also helps in terms of the heat island effect. Next slide, please. So within that sort of arrangement or mix of different materials, we looked at several iterations and patterns and got really great feedback from the focus group. Next slide. And this is, I think, sort of a summary. And if we click through one more, we'll see what those materials are that are represented. It's a mainly red brick palette with a granite stone base, and we're showing that up to the 3-foot line of the sill of level 1. We're also showing at the sill of level 2, basically a water course, something similar to what we saw in some of the traditional brick buildings, that provides a sort of a unity of that expression, an element that can be, even seen from Farm Street. And there was also discussion about, well, how contemporary or modern should the building be? And what we heard back was definitely a mix, but what we take away from it is that we need to be balanced in terms of having this appear like a building of its time, but also kind of making sure that we use elements that are also timeless, that it's not going to be a building that is dated in a few years. And so that's something we're paying attention to. We've looked at making an exciting gesture with the media center, with a good deal of glazing and with geometry that sort of pushes outward, creates a porch area that's protected next to the main entry. So these are kind of the bigger moves that we've been looking at, and we've incorporated a couple of new elements based on comments that we got in the meeting. So if we go to the next slide, we see what that picture looks like from standing at Farm Street above the edge of the new Beasley Oval, looking back toward the entry. So Joe, we can see there at the base, there's the sort of gray line at the bottom is that stone bench. I think it's an opportunity to relate the materiality of the building to that which propagates through the site. So we would likely select a material that's going to pair well with the granite, or even use the granite, same granite that's on the building, if we can maintain that and it's affordable. So I think it's a long building along the sort of north-south axis, but we've made sure that we articulate it fairly well, and we have an element right in the center that announces really where the excitement is and where one should go to look for the entry. So I think that's working at this scale. Next image, please. Here's a view on the sidewalk as you approach the entry, or the entry driveway, if you will. The field to the left, as you can see, it's very slightly elevated. There's a ramp and some more stepping down to that entry plaza element that gets you to the main entry. And the patterning on the right, a little bit closer view of how that might feel in terms of the depth. We are looking for ways to increase more sort of depth of the facade, and we'll keep working on that piece. Next slide, please. Working our way around to the rear of the building. This is looking at what we've called the academic commons, with the roof terrace up on level 2 to the right, and showing that singular pattern wrapping around the building. And there's also an opportunity to vary it as it comes back here, but we wanted to just, keep it simple for now. The solid void, the distribution of materials, we're pretty well on target with what we show to what we're targeting for 25% window to wall ratio. At stairwells, we're kind of pushing out a little bit with the glazing to relate to the front a little bit, to have a 3-dimensionality. But the palette is fairly simple, and we think it could be really beautiful as a series of piers, brick piers. Next slide, please. And then ending at the outdoor commons, and just again to give a sense of the space that's blaze open as you get out toward the buffered area in the back. This would be, you can see in the center there on the bottom, large overhead doors that would open from the art rooms out to the outdoors to allow for big works to be pulled in and out, and easy access to the outdoors. We haven't modeled all the things like a potential fence, and even Megan's elements are missing from this view, more for clarity of looking at the building. In the future, we'll have that really all consolidated in one view. So this is the direction we're heading in, and is the basis of the package that will go tomorrow. I welcome anyone who was in the focus group meetings to mention any things that I may have missed, or to emphasize points that they thought were important. If no comments, I can move on to just quickly running through the interior materials.
I do have one quick question, and I wasn't in the focus group, so it's just a quick question. I'm curious. It seems a bit dark to me. I was wondering if there was any conversation around, instead of a darker material, more of like a brushed aluminum or a satin nickel that's going to pop the building a little bit more.
I meant to mention that the colors are not coming through the way that we really intend yet. I totally agree that it's, we're not looking for something, a color that's almost, black or charcoal gray. We do like to use metallic painted metal, so that not only you get a brightness, but you get a sort of reflection, and you get, it sort of dances in the sunlight, if you will. So there are lots of different variations of,
I know what you mean. So I'm with you. I think that's a good direction to move in. Plain black or brown. It just seems a little dull, boring, and dark.
Yeah.
The amount of money we're spending on this building.
It's true for the base too. That will lighten quite a bit. We're not intending a black granite. It's probably more of a medium to light gray.
Thanks.
The band in the middle is something we can look at also. It probably wants to be less of a contrast to the brick, but it still wants to register from a distance, I think.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay.
And then just really briefly, the interior materials, I believe you've all seen these views before, but we just wanted to refresh the heart of the school. That's really kind of where we'll sort of take our lead in terms of the materiality and the concept for the building. There's a second image here looking from up on level 2, looking for a lot of transparency. The renderings, as you see them next time, will be populated with those materials that I'm about to talk about. So next slide, please. We start out looking to integrate materials. Ideally, you know, in an ideal world, we would have extremely, you know, tactile, natural materials that look and feel good and are highly durable. When we go to the next slide, we see the materials we can usually afford. So we look for cost-effective ways of getting that stone-like appearance or that wood-like appearance. Sometimes we can use real wood veneer, but you know, a lot of times the floors, tile and stone floors can't really compete with some other materials that are out there. But we like to link back to that original idea of the warmth and feeling natural. Interior materials on the floors will be mainly terrazzo in the public space, the dining common space, and even up to level 2, including on the learning stair, which will also have accents of wood. The linoleum is really the majority of the school, in the hallways, in the classrooms, in most of the spaces. It's a durable material, it's easy to clean, it doesn't need waxing. It comes in sheets so that it can be installed fairly, you know, easily, quickly, cut to shape and size. We can put patterns in them. That's what we've done on virtually all schools for the past, I don't know, decade at least. Polished concrete sometimes is in the mix. We're including epoxy floors for art rooms and shop space because we think it's at a little bit higher price level, and we want to make sure we're not underselling in terms of the budget, the cost model. We will have some carpet tile in places like the library media center, the large group instruction, but we really keep it to a minimum. It's not a material that is conducive to a lot of the wear and tear through the spaces. The tile is mainly reserved for toilet rooms. On the walls, there will be a wainscot of porcelain tile in the hallways up to 5 feet. We will look for places where we can add accents of wood paneling. And the strategy overall will be to use neutral, muted colors in all of the permanent materials, and to reserve the color pops for painted walls, places where it's going to be easy down the road to change it or replace it. That's a general strategy that you know, we think is a smart way to go, and we can still do a lot with the areas that will have pops of color. The ceilings will be mainly acoustical tile lay-in grid systems. Some of them might be a wood look metal tile. We've been doing these more and more. They perform really well. They give you the look of wood without any of the drawbacks of potential maintenance issues with wood. Next slide, please. We'll have blinds or shades on all the windows. So blinds are mainly on the interior lights. Anywhere we have a space opened up with glazing, we'll have the opportunity on the interior of the space to close it so that in basically in lockdown mode, there can be concealment of who's inside space. On the exterior wall, there will be shades at each window to provide solar protection. We use solid surface for counters and actually for windowsills as well. It's a very durable solution. There will be casework and millwork. We've not selected a wood species, but for now we are including hardwood maple. It's able to be stained in different ways so that we think there's a possibility for variation. And in the back of house, high wear areas will have ground face CMU. Our walk-off mats will be, really high quality. And as I mentioned, epoxy flooring in some of the shop space. We're planning a meeting at the end of September, which is a follow-up of the interior exterior design focus group meeting, where we'll talk about the actual application of specific colors and patterns in specific space. So we're going to keep working on this. This is to give you a sense of, what is the palette for cost estimating, and so there it is.
Are any questions on interior material?
Doesn't appear to be any.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Brian. And then I did want to push this conversation further. We've made more progress since we met with you back in August. When we met on the 25th, at that point, we had a series of meetings that had allowed us to sort of say with a definitiveness that everyone was pretty comfortable with an all-electric mechanical system. But there was an expressed first choice by DPW to really look into geothermal as an option. And at that point on the 25th, we didn't quite have the information we have today. So I'm going to flip back and forth real quick. What we've done since then is advance the life cycle cost analysis work that our sustainability team has done. And what that sort of points to is, given the higher cost of geothermal as a first cost, in terms of payback, it's substantially higher than the air source system that we had been considering. So we're looking at a 48-year payback as compared to a 6-year payback. The other aspect that our mechanical engineer was able to push forward was to see the extent of wells that would be required to support a building of our size. And so not only is it a substantial amount of area, but it would be located under the existing building. So the phasing would be incredibly difficult. And so where that brought us was back to the leadership group. Last week, we discussed and showed that information to that group, and at that point received a recommendation to no longer keep geothermal in the mix because of those reasons just shown. And tonight, what we'd like to ask is a confirmation of that recommendation to go with the VRF air source system for the building as the basis of design. And I don't know if that's a formal vote or the best way to have that conversation.
Well, you need to have a number of formal votes, one of the plan and to move forward. So I think we should do them all at one time, Helen.
Okay.
Bill, you had a question?
I got a quick question. So this recommendation is based on the battery park happening. If the battery park, for whatever reason, doesn't happen, is this recommendation still viable?
Yes, it is. And this goes back to some of the early conversations we've had about changes in the building, changes in the energy code. And it's pushing not only your projects, but all projects in the state towards net zero energy readiness and electrification. So it meets the state's goals, the codes that are about to come into play. We know we're going to have to go to MEPA for permitting with the Hemlock Road relocation. They are going to demand it. So there are other pressures here that we are responding to.
Is there any other questions regarding this selection?
Okay.
Okay.
And then I think the other things that we wanted to talk about were those that have been alluded to all along, is which elements we want to see broken out in the cost estimate. These were some that we've been hearing consistently through the process. things related to the arts programs that have resulted in more square footage above the guidelines that the MSBA has in their program. The auxiliary gym, of course, the larger size gym, PE alternatives, additional square footage to that category, as well as athletic storage, WCAT, of course, district offices, marching band storage. These are all, within the building and considered ineligible from the standpoint of MSBA participation. We've also heard a few of these elements on the site. The 8-lane straightaway that Megan had pointed out earlier was something that was requested by the athletics director, and certainly of interest, I think, to the town and district overall. But again, the idea at first always was to replace Beasley Oval. And so we just want to make sure we understand what the cost associated with that piece is. We want to, again, keep track of the Hemlock Road realignment and intersection. The field storage building, I don't know if that's something that needs to be broken out separately or not. You do have storage on site for your track and field program, and other pieces, I believe, are in those storage containers. And again, the Landrigan parking expansion, we didn't look at that specifically tonight, but that's, again, to meet your parking goals.
So Lynn, the question I have is, how do you want to move forward in approving what's going to be estimated?
I would say that you had a good overview of everything that's going to the estimators. There'll be narratives that go along with it to explain everything in general. But I would say you take a vote on everything presented tonight, if you're in agreement with that, and then agree to this breakout of cost, unless there's something else you might like to see. But we tried to limit it to things that were outside the educational, the academic portion of the program, that MSB is definitely going to consider it to be ineligible. So,
But aren't all, so a question I have, aren't all fields ineligible? Isn't?
no, the fields aren't, well, up to 8% of the building costs. But again, these are above and beyond the standard high school building.
Okay.
That's why we put them out.
Yeah, I think, so the real, yeah, it's fine to get these numbers, but the real decision is just whether we want to do it or not, because our site work's going to be above 8%.
It is, and maybe we want to add the field to that, to this list as well. I think it's going to be primarily used to have people understand what the cost represents.
Right, when the questions come at town meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to add the fields, I think, because we didn't at the Galvin. We just said, the fields aren't eligible up to X amount, so the fields are gonna cost X, and we get reimbursed for Y.
And the other reason for not having it now is because we're taking it away, so we have to put back what we took away.
Correct.
We just added the extra pieces to it that, we're adding on.
That's fine. I can just kind of make a general statement, since I've been fortunate enough to sit on most of the meetings from the last time we met till now. And I will tell you that at the beginning of this process, I wasn't sure that we were going to be anywhere close to being ready to send anything to cost estimating at this point to be able to present to the town meeting. I will tell you that in my opinion, in the last 3 weeks, SMMA and left field have come miles. And also I understand design doesn't end now. What we're doing is getting cost factors, right? So it doesn't really matter whether it's a stone floor or a wood floor or whatever. It's getting costs in there so that as the design proceeds, we can work within those parameters and get a building we really like. So, what I'm comfortable moving forward. And I tell you, 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been. So that's my impression of how far we've come for what that's worth, guys.
All right, are there any other questions or comments regarding this before we take a vote?
Yeah, Joe, I got a quick, just on to Chip's point about this isn't the end of design, like what is expected? Like, I'm gonna go back to this battery park still, because I feel like we're running an all electric system and we haven't shown anything on our campus that's gonna generate electricity for ourselves. Like, there's no solar canopies over parking spaces. And I don't know how much those things cost. And are we missing an opportunity to get a budget estimate at this point to try to generate our own electricity? And furthermore, if something like, is this being estimated under that battery park will exist? And I don't know how much infrastructure is going to cost to connect to it. I guess that's my question there is, how are we budgeting for that, for something that doesn't exist?
Yeah, so, yeah.
You want to go, Helen, or you want me to?
Yeah, I can start with a piece of what Phil is asking, and great questions, Phil. So one is typically in MSBA projects, it is cost prohibitive to actually have build your building with the solar panels on it. We will plan always for solar ready. And I think this is something that Martine has sort of been discussing from early on. No, we had not included it, and we are assuming, based on what WMGLD has told us, that they will be providing the panels. So that is, I guess, a question if we did want to include something in the cost estimate. We have, however, put a provision in the memo that will go with the package to the estimators, saying if for some reason the battery park isn't built, we need to have an emergency generator on our site. So we are getting a number for that. We don't have to have solar panels on the building. Yes, it's nice. Always, again, we meet the MSBA requirement to be solar ready. But I guess, that's a question if we did want a number to include for being fully solar able.
So within the cost will be the infrastructure for connecting to photovoltaics on the roof.
Right.
And the town could put photovoltaics on the roof at a later date through a PPA. And it wouldn't cost them anything. So but the infrastructure will be there to accept PVs.
Well, you're saying that in that the structural engineering of the roof is to
Yes.
account for a ballasted or tied in solar system, because I feel like there's not much roof
Correct. No,
space.
the electrical infrastructure, the
The
inverters and
electrical,
everything else.
yeah, but if you don't have the structural infrastructure on your roof, you're not going to be putting solar arrays. I was in Jamaica Plain the other day, and this huge parking lot has it's all parking canopies above the spaces. And it's just, it don't, like, why aren't we, forget the roof, why aren't we using ground space for some of this solar? So it's just a thing. I'm just throwing it out there because I was sitting in traffic staring at it for 25 minutes the other day, and I was like, I just wonder why we're not thinking, forget the roof. I don't think there's enough roof space, and I really doubt we're putting solar panels on top of the gym, which is one of the only areas that doesn't have current mechanicals on it per the drawings we saw. My last question real quick, we had asked for some sort of matrix for, our purposes, of community purposes, to look at what was being planned and what we think it's going to cost. Are we going to wait for that till we get these budget estimates so we have a more accurate matrix?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
But
Thank you.
back to your question, Phil, as to what happens if the if the WMGLD is the only, they're gonna need a vote at town meeting to allow them to have an easement for 1 acre of land up off of Hemlock Road. They're already planning this grid and this energy center for the VOC.
Right.
Okay, they're already putting, the plan is to put as many solar panels on that roof as they can. So that project is a year in front of us. So this thing we are gonna benefit greatly, because any mistakes they made, they're gonna iron out and be tuned up, ready when we go. So the only vote they're gonna need from town meeting is a request for an easement for 1 acre of land from the town to go to a municipality of the light department. So this is a great opportunity for Wakefield, for the 2 schools and everything else. So I can't imagine how it wouldn't go forward. That's having sat in on that meeting with Peter Dion and the group.
Yeah, I read the minutes. I get all that. I'm just trying to look for outside of that. What can we do on our campus to generate electricity as a town, especially with the Woodville next door? I just wonder, we're doing this whole huge project. Is there, and this is probably a later discussion if it's too early to, it just, I feel I don't want to say, oh, we don't need it because there's a battery park up the road we're sharing with the vote. Like, I don't know if that's
fine.
That's not what you're saying. I'm just cautious that we really should explore, forget solar ready, but solar like active on the site in some way, not to
So-
hold up estimating, just something to think about.
Well, we could certainly do that, whether it's within this project or at a later date. Right, because it's not gonna be included with any MSBA reimbursement.
Well, we'll be solar ready in the building is what I'm hearing, but not on the site, like not in the parking lots.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that would be a matter of trenching some wires. I mean,
Right, like I know, I know Martine had spoken about like being ready for like charging stations and stuff in the lots.
Right.
I know
Right.
there's that capability, but not, I just feel these arrays on ground levels are these farms you see, and again, this parking lot I saw in JP are where I think a lot of people are going, because roofs pose to be a lot of structural issues and just space considerations. How big can your array be?
Yeah.
So, we can get a lot more with larger arrays on the ground. So just something to think about. That's all. It's late. And I thank you everyone for all your work on this.
Are there any other questions of Raymond?
So I'm gonna make a motion.
Well, Chip, there's another, somebody has a question.
Oh, I don't-
Yes, hi. Yes, I did have to a comment and follow on to what Phil is saying. The idea that we're putting in all these parking spaces and essentially paving those spaces and creating heat islands. And instead of planning to capture that energy with solar panels over the parking, and not only the benefits of having that area covered for cars if it snows, less plowing. It just doesn't make sense that you talk about having solar panels, a whole area of woods, torn up to put solar panels in instead of just putting them over the parking lot. I can't agree more with Phil that this is short-sighted to take that approach. We should be looking a little bit more, that's my opinion. I agree with Phil strongly.
Do we have a name and address just so we can log this comment? Can I have your name and address?
My name and address?
Yeah.
I'm Raymond Thompson,
Okay,
and I'm at 23 Humphrey Street in Wakefield.
great. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
There any other questions or comments? All right. I
Okay.
suggest we make a motion to accept the design.
I have a motion, Mr. Chairman, if you would.
Yep.
I move that we accept the design as presented this evening, along with the mechanical decision to go all electric and air for the mechanical equipment, and to ask the estimators to separately cost the breakout as presented this evening as well.
Okay, I will second that motion.
Is there any discussion?
Lynn, does that cover what you guys need?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Unless SMA has any comments.
Ellen, does that cover you?
That's great. Thank
All
you.
right.
Yep.
Is there any members of the committee have any further discussion? Hearing none. Chip,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jason,
Yep.
John?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.
All right. I think Mark has left the meeting.
Yep.
And I would suggest that we, the next meeting with the municipal light group,
Mhm.
that we talk to them about. I know they wanted to do solar panels on the roof. I think we should ask them about the parking lot. To see how viable that is.
Sure.
And if they're willing, if they're willing to do the roof, maybe they're willing to do parking. All right.
I just wanted to go back quickly to the what's coming up. We are trying to confirm a meeting with the Metro Tech project with the traffic engineers. And I know that Steve Mayo also sent a meeting notice out today for September 15th with a larger group from Northeast Metro Tech. So we're working on that, as well as getting a traffic advisory committee meeting. We have established cost estimating review meetings with Bond weekly until the cost estimating is complete. And we are also scheduling meetings with WMGLD on a monthly basis. And we're looking to start the process back up with DCR to get the Article 97 process going. So what we have coming up here is school committee meeting on the 16th, which we will present at. We
So
have
13th, Lynn.
Sorry, yes,
Doug
right.
had given us, yeah.
Yeah,
wrong
13th.
date.
I'll correct that. Then the public forum, we have one tentatively scheduled for September 28th. Our cost reconciliation date has been confirmed for October 4th. We will present. Geez, I'm getting
Third.
all mixed up here then. Third. And then, thanks for correcting me, Helen. We'll present the budget to the PBC on October 6th. We did make a commitment to provide renderings and presentation boards for Wakefield Town Today on October 8th. And we will, pending approval of the PBC on the 6th, we will submit our budget notification to MSBA on October 13th. We'll follow that up by presenting the final status of the project in public forum on October 19th. And then we will be asking the PBC to vote for submitting the schematic design on October 20th so that we can submit it on October 27th. So,
Any other questions regarding the schedule? Couple things, Lynn. On the
yes,
public forums, make sure that you contact Jen McDonald so that it gets out, the notice of it gets out. We had a pretty good attendance at the last one, I think. Even though not too many notices went out beforehand, so I think if we get one out earlier, it'll be even higher.
yeah,
amount
we had
of
about 72 people, so that was really good.
Yeah, and it was like last minute that it went out, so I think if we get it out early, it'll be better. Also, members of the PBC, I would ask if any of you could contact me to let me know if you volunteer on the town day for October 8th between 1 and 4. I myself am unable to attend, but we hope to have somebody there if people have questions. So just let me know. You don't have to let me know until we meet again on the 6th or later in this month. No hurry on that.
So one more thing I wanted to ask, do we think we need to have a PBC meeting on October 27th, Helen?
Helen,
October or
I mean, September, sorry.
September 22nd. We've been chatting amongst ourselves here at SMMA. Yeah, we would, to really dive into site, to develop those renderings more and to give a better picture of what's going on. We've also done, the additional testing, geotech, and I think we can have a hefty conversation on site issues on the 22nd.
Okay.
okay,
Push it later.
What's
to-
that?
I mean, do we really need to have that meeting, or is that just, I mean, there's, what's coming from that meeting? Are there costs associated with it, or do you need approvals with it?
No, not yet. It's not, that's all going to start to come in early October. So we kind of run out of, I'd say, design meetings where we're gathering a lot of feedback. Once we hit October, we're going to have the cost information. The 20th, we're asking for the vote to submit to the MSBA. So I think September is really it for kind of deep dives into the
I
design.
think it's,
I just don't know that we need that deep dive. Those should be with the focus groups.
Okay,
That's my opinion.
okay.
yeah, I agree. I don't think
We just need overviews of what was
we
discussed.
just have an overview of it on the 6th of October.
A real, yeah, just what was discussed, because nothing's gonna change from, unless you guys are asking to change the budgets or the
parameters for the budget.
parameters, yeah. That sounds like more design stuff and deep dive stuff.
We'll continue to use leadership group then for
Okay.
any input.
Yep. Good idea.
Yeah, because we had not planned on a site focus group again for this phase, but
That's fine.
okay, we know where to find you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments before we adjourn?
Joe, do we know when the appointments for the positions on our open slots are gonna happen?
We do not.
Okay, we got a lot going on. It'd be great to fill the 2 seats.
Couldn't agree with you more, but it's the town council that has to set up the whole system.
Okay, well,
So,
Jonathan's on here, so he's hearing that.
Jonathan?
We really need you to push that, please, Jonathan.
Yeah, so we'll be voting at Monday's meeting to advertise for the openings. So we should be getting applications and, over the next number of weeks, and definitely hear you on getting those seats filled soon.
All right.
Jonathan, are you also advertising for the request for a pro bono attorney on this?
Yes. Yep, that's also on the agenda for Monday.
Okay, perfect.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
No problem.
Anybody else? All right. You all want to hear a
I
motion
move
to
that we
adjourn
adjourn.
and click leave meeting.
Adjourn.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Good night.
everyone.
Take care, everybody.